you're saving money, but only if you're able to convert it into good investing and beat inflation. Does it really make sense? Everybody has a plan till you get that punch in the face. And that punch very often is a sudden layoff or a market crash. Start by getting at least 3 months of your core essential lifestyle expense, then try and extend it to 6 months. And it's great if you can have 9 to 12 months. Real estate prices are high everywhere in India, whether it's a city or a village. If you're staying far away from your workplace, it can really eat into your quality of life. So very often you're able to get a place at rent closer to office and save a lot of commuting time.
If someone wants to feel more financially in control starting today, what's one simple, doable first step? What does a solid financial foundation look like? Like, what are the key elements that go into building it?
So a good financial plan is like a fortress which can help you withstand those inevitable shocks and storms which happen. And I think of it as 7 key steps towards achieving financial freedom. The first starting point is get your emergency fund in place. Your emergency fund should be in something which is simple and liquid. So money can be parked in a bank account, a short-term fixed deposit, a liquid fund, an arbitrage fund. Don't try to get extra returns on your emergency fund. Start by getting at least 3 months of your core essential lifestyle expense, then try and extend it to 6 months. And it's great if you can have 9 to 12 months. Second is getting a system where you're spending after saving and investing. So good financial planning recommends that you invest and save at least 15 to 20% of your post-tax income. If you can get it higher, about 30 to 40%, if it's something your future self is really going to thank you for. Now, third thing I would say is also getting your protection in place. So very important element to get in place is getting the right amount and the right kind of medical and life insurance in place. Life insurance is something you can look at if you have people dependent on you or you have liabilities. Liabilities could be your education loan, or it could be you also having to contribute for your family or your parents. Now here, I would always recommend people to keep their insurance and the investment separate. So very often people get into these traditional endowment money back plans where you're paying a high premium, which is robbing you of your investment potential and you're getting a low coverage. So a more efficient way to do it is to get a term insurance in place, a pure protection insurance. And fourth, I would say, is after getting these elements in place, you need to have a basic asset allocation plan of how your savings are going to get invested. So here, I would say the bucket strategy really helps. Money which you need in the short term, which is in the next 6 months to 1 year, you'll typically want it to go into steady and safe instruments. So it could be a recurring deposit, it could be a liquid fund if you're comfortable with mutual funds. So money which is not impacted by sudden falls in the market. Then second is your medium term bucket, money which you don't need for the next 2 to 5 years. So here you can look at options like hybrid funds where you have an element of safety as well as returns coming in. And third is long term money which you don't need for the next 5 to 10 years. So this I would suggest diversified equity mutual funds as a place to allocate and build a goal based systematic investment strategy for what you're investing. Once you have said that, okay, this is my money which I'm just going to stay put for the next 5 to 8 years. It shouldn't matter the market shocks or the inevitable fluctuations which will happen shouldn't matter for you. The sixth part, I will speak more in terms of mindset, which is ensuring you're keeping a long-term mindset so that you're giving enough time for your money to compound. The last and most important point is the importance of monitoring your investments. So here again, you have to have a balance. I would say looking at your portfolio maybe twice a year or once a quarter is a decent balanced way to do it. And when it's for less than 1 or 2 years, don't look at returns. Look at the process. Am I allocating in the right place? Are my allocations in the right place? You want to start looking at returns only once you have completed 3 to 4 years of investing. So getting a proper monitoring mechanism in place for your investments is important.
Many of us save whatever's left after spending. So how does one flip this mindset and make saving a priority?
Yeah, it's a classical thing we often hear while working with clients. They say, I'll get back to you at the end of the month and let you know how much I can invest. Never happens. And a great proof of concept very often when we work with salaried employees is we remind them of their EPF, Employee Provident Fund, especially if they have been working for 3 to 5 years. So we ask them, do you know what is your EPF corpus currently? And then some people are aware, but others they check for their SMS and they realize, hey, it's become a nice sum. Now, what were the principles at play over here? One was people figured out how to live their life after the EPF deduction happened. So there was an automatic deduction and saving happening into an instrument which was growing at around 8% plus every year. And if you have done it for 3 to 5 years, it's become a reasonable corpus. So you can apply that same principle towards your financial planning by saying, hey, at the end of the month, my salary hits my bank account, and within 1 or 2 days, in an automated fashion, I have the money going into a committed investment. I would always recommend a SIP into a good mutual fund. If you're new to the game, then maybe what are called hybrid funds, where you have a mix of debt and equity. And if you're willing to look really long term, then a SIP into a diversified equity fund is a great way to start. So, yeah, this is something I think can help you get in place that process of spending what is left after saving and investing. So, just saving alone will not help. Automate the saving, have it going into an instrument which can beat inflation. I mean, if you look at it, if you have a lakh invested in a fixed deposit, and if we factor in taxation and inflation, it's almost like you're losing 2-3% of your money every year. So that 1 lakh of, suppose you have 1 lakh of money in a FD, after 15 years, it might just be able to purchase you around 70,000. So you're saving money, but only if you're able to convert it into good investing and beat inflation, does it really make sense? You want your investments to compound at least 8 to 10%. And if we look at historical track record, mutual funds have done a good job in beating inflation if you have investment horizons of 10 to 15 years.
A lot of people feel like financial planning is something that you only do once you feel settled. Is that thinking flawed?
Actually, it's a common thing. People say, I'll do financial planning when I have money. And that's a big myth. Financial planning is a lifelong, continuous, and ongoing activity. Yes, the context and priorities do change, but I would say it is a continuous process applicable for everyone. And at the core of it is it gets you direction. And when you have direction, you have more efficient use of your resources. You can withstand shocks better. You have more confidence in terms of meeting your both your present and your future goals. So it enables you to have more clarity and more confidence while you go about your life. So I would say financial planning is a core, ongoing, and continuous process applicable for everyone.
When the world feels a little unpredictable, like during a job layoff or when the markets even crash, what kind of financial mistakes do people tend to make?
So, Anand, this reminds me of this quote by the famous boxer Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan till you get that punch in the face. And that punch very often is a sudden layoff or a market crash. So, this is where it becomes really important to stick to your plan, because when you face sudden uncertainty, our first thing is logic can go out of the window and we just want to feel safe. And very often, what you're trying to do to feel safe may not be beneficial for you in the long run. For example, people start doing panic selling of their investments. They lose track of what is essential and unessential. They put a stop to their investing and plan. So when you buy when there are market downturns, that's where you get often the best value. So a plan is a written down plan that, hey, if this happens, this is how I'm going to react, is a great way to deal against these sudden knee jerk panic driven reactions, which we are all prone to doing.
And what are some early warning signs that someone's financial habits might need attention?
So, some of it which I can think is the classic living paycheck to paycheck, not able to having to meet your essential expenses through credit card, just clearing off your minimum balance in your credit card, falling for too many of these offers, having to borrow money from friends and family to meet essential expenses, not having at least a portion of your money going into savings. So these are classical things, I would say, which never change wherever in the world you are, whichever age you're in. This is a continuous theme or a red flag which one needs to address.
Do you have a real world example of someone who was financially prepared for an unexpected crisis?
So, Anand, I remember this example of this couple, husband working in a technology company, wife a homemaker. They had a 7, 8 year old child. They had just recently started their financial planning and investing journey, maybe 2, 3 years into the process and the relationship and the service. And COVID happened. And at first, it was about a lot of panic and uncertainty because in technology companies, you can suddenly see restructuring happening, layoffs happening, and the couple was really concerned. So, this was a good time for us to recenter, recheck, get a financial health check done. So, the first thing we checked is confirm how solid is the emergency fund situation. There were a lot of questions going on in their mind. They were thinking, should they pre-close part of their loans? Should they stop some of their investments? And we went step by step. So checked for the emergency fund, checked and ensured they had adequate medical and life insurance in place. We checked whether the allocations were into funds which were more resilient. And then finally, we realized that they had a decent amount of liquidity and they decided rather than pre-close the home loan, they'll keep liquidity and also they realize they are in a situation where they can actually take advantage of the market, and they invested when the markets were down, and then inevitably when the markets recovered 12 to 15 months back, they got a huge boost in terms of their earnings and their financial goals. So this, I think, was a classic example of going about your financial planning when these sudden shocks happen in a thoughtful manner, revisiting your plan. So just being thoughtful and having a plan, it just changes the whole game for you.
Buying a home is a huge goal for many. So how does one decide whether they should buy or continue to rent?
We live in a very different environment compared to our parents. First thing is home prices, real estate prices are high everywhere in India, whether it's a city or a village. So you're getting in at a high base. So you want to really plan well before you take this plunge. Jobs are not as certain and long term as what our parents had. We get disrupted. We have to reskill ourselves every 5 to 7 years. And a home loan is a long commitment of 20, 30 years. So you have to really think through this. There is both the mathematical or the numbers element to it, and then there is the psychological or emotional element to it. So let me speak on both of these. So the logical or mathematical one is easy. If you have taken care of your emergency funds, at least 6 to 12 months of your essential cash flow expense, you have it in a safe place, and you can service your home loan EMI within 30 to 40% of your post tax income, you have got the platform to consider purchasing a home. But you also want to look at other factors. For example, if you're staying far away from your workplace, it can really eat into your quality of life. So, very often, you're able to get a place at rent closer to office and save a lot of commuting time. And the other element of is your the kind of job and the role which you have, is it really predictable, stable? Do you have plans to take a short break to reskill or take a sabbatical? These are important emotional elements also you want to take in place while deciding to buy or rent.
Managing money as a couple can be tricky, especially with different spending styles. What actually works here?
Oh, yeah, this is again a tough one, but I have seen cases of couples who have managed to strike a balance. And when you get that balance, it's like magic. So, quite often, they'll be, one of the spouses would be someone who would be better at tracking things, a little more careful, and the other person might be someone who likes to spend and go with experiences. The challenge comes when both are of a particular kind. So either both of you are very much into the saving mindset, and that also has its risk because hey, you're not enjoying life enough as well. You're not creating enough memories. Or the bigger risk, of course, is if both are spending. So what you're really looking to do is to leverage on each other's strong points, blocking time out, and agreeing together on a plan and the boundaries within which you're going to spend, save, and invest. It's not about being Scrooge. Financial planning is not about being Scrooge. It's about having a basic budget in place, also spending money on your indulgences without regret. I remember this example of this couple where the wife was talking to us about a recent vacation, and she said that while we were in flight and I settled down and got comfortable, my husband turns and tells me that the air tickets were three times the cost of the rail tickets. And I felt so guilty. So we relooked at their financial plan and made out that the fare for the airline tickets was budgeted for. And we helped them understand that the benefit of being able to do that was that they had more time to enjoy their vacation. They reached their place with better energy, not as tired. So when you have a plan in place, it also helps you enjoy, spend with clarity, where you don't feel guilty or you don't feel insecure about the spending which you do. I mean, life is all about experiences and moments. So you just want to make sure it's within a budget and within the boundaries which you have planned for. Another very important thing as a couple, when you have your money date or your catch up, is you want to check whether all your basic nominations are in place. You do a basic inventory check of where the assets are located, where are the documents kept, where to look for, who to call for. So these are some key basic things you can do during your catch up or on your money dates.
Once a basic financial plan is in place, how often should you revisit it? What are the signs that you need to have a review?
So, typical examples of where I think one really needs to urgently look at their financial planning is where you're spending for your essentials out of your credit card. I would recommend reviewing your financial plan at least twice a year. It makes sense to keep one of those reviews at least in April or May, which is the financial year end, because from an Indian standpoint, it aligns with the corporate planning cycle. You have a sense of your bonuses, your salary rises, or your salary corrections. So you have more hold on the numbers which can impact your financial planning. So one of the reviews, keep it around that April-May timeframe.
If someone wants to feel more financially in control starting today, what's one simple, doable first step?
First thing would be just having your emergency fund in place in a safe, steady instrument like bank, FD, or liquid funds, at least 3 to 6 months, and then get a basic plan in place to save, invest, and spend your money. A good financial plan, it'll tell your money where to go rather than wonder where it went.
Thank you, Varun.
Thank you.
If you found today's conversation valuable and want advice tailored to your financial journey, book a free session with a Scripbox expert. It's quick, easy, and built around your goals. You will find the link in the description below. We look forward to helping you make smarter money decisions.